Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Big A podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman. I'm going through and doing some planning for my podcast, and as I go through and I look at what podcasts are coming up over the next 3 months, I kind of reflected back on those today, where I'm like, oh my God, that was such an amazing person to talk with. I'm so glad I got to tell their story. Or this person was so inspiring. And, that's the whole reason why I love doing this podcast. It's because I love to tell people stories. I love to have the conversations with people. I like people that are unique or are doing something good in the world, or just an interesting person, even if they're not, doing something so amazing or changing the world, just that their story is inspirational. Or they're just an interesting person. Those are the type of people that I kind of love to have on. I've had on mediums, and I've had psychics on, and I think that's all so interesting. And I've had, people that have survived relationships or have become transgender at the age of 66 years old. They made a leap in their life. Bernie's the person I'm referring to. At 66 years old, Bernie decided, I'm going to transition and I'm going to be who I know I am inside, and that is a woman. And it's just fascinating to me that people have this much courage to do things like this. And then, I talk with these people that have survived cults. I mean, how amazing is that I get to tell these stories that people that grew up in cults that were completely taken advantage of, physically abused in some cases, sexually abused in some cases, and now they are thriving in their lives, and they're able to come onto my podcast and talk about how their lives are so amazing and how they are thriving. And it's just incredible to me that I get to tell these stories. And whenever I meet another storyteller or somebody that likes to tell people stories, it makes me so happy. And I discovered my next guest on TikTok. And if you live in the New England area, you most likely know who he is. His name is Reporter Matt. And I did an interview with Benjamin Smith, who is a realtor that goes around and does apartment tours in Boston, and he wears full makeup, and he talks about it's 3 layers of foundation, and he is a character, and he's blowing up the internet with his videos on TikTok and on Instagram. So if you haven't watched the Benjamin Smith interview on my show, or listen to it, please do, because he is hysterically funny, and he's just an amazing person. But Reporter Matt did an interview with him the day after I did my podcast with him, and it caught my attention on Reporter Matt's Instagram page. And so I sent him a text or a DM saying, hey, come on my show and let's talk. And he agreed to. And, he's basically, you'll hear what his job is if you don't know who Reporter Matt is, if you're not in the New England area. But he goes to these towns throughout the New England area and finds somebody interesting, or finds a place that's interesting, but he interviews these great people. So he interviewed not just Benjamin Smith, but he interviewed this guy named Richard, who he met in a mall, and who he's from the Philippines originally, and his father wouldn't allow him to do drag anymore. And so he ended up doing drag again because Reporter Matt gave him the courage to do this. My conversation with Reporter Matt, I loved so much, because there was a point where I forgot I was doing a podcast, where I felt like I was having an amazing conversation with somebody. And when that happens, that's when I know I love the person that I'm speaking with, and I know it's just going to be a fantastic episode. Because that doesn't always happen. Because sometimes I'm just I'm looking at the clock whenever I'm doing the interview, and I'm like, ooh, we're 3 minutes in, and I don't know what else to ask. It doesn't happen a lot of times, but there are people. Reporter Matt, I could have stayed on with him for about 6 more hours and continue the conversation, because he is just so fascinating. He is such a awesome guy, and he is a huge ally to the LGBTQ plus community. And he's just He's amazing. So I hope you enjoy this interview with reporter Matt. I am hoping that me and him are going to take Benjamin Smith out for um, drinks or dinner one night. The both of us will take him out, and it will just be a fun night out. And we'll come back and tell you all about that on a podcast in the future if it happens. Thanks so much for listening, and enjoy Reporter Matt. Hi, thanks for joining me in the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today, I have another local celebrity, but this guy is like, let me just tell you a little bit about him before we get into it. He has a Wikipedia page, which says a lot to me because not everybody has a Wikipedia page. I found him a while ago. So I've been following him on Instagram for a while, and I just knew who he was because I think everybody in Boston probably knows him. And I just did a little research over the past week to kind of find out a little more about him. And this is what the internet says about him. He's got an authentic and relatable style. He makes people feel like they're his buddy. He has an engaging personality. He's likable and funny, and he draws people to him. So welcome to the show, Reporter Matt.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I don't know what I did to charm ChatGPT that much, but that means a lot that it took that away from our conversations.
Yeah, I can't get enough of your videos. So
thank you.
And I
appreciate that. And
I have an editor that edits my podcasts and stuff, and he's like, you know who Reporter Matt is? I'm like, yeah, of course. And he's like, just to give the audience a little bit of clarity, we interviewed Benjamin Smith around the same time.
That's right. In fact, I remember the day I interviewed him, he said something like, "Oh, I just did a podcast like last night." I was like, "Oh, what's the podcast?" And he was telling me about you, and he was like, "And I told him this and this and that." And I was like, "Man, I hope we're not like about to make the same piece of content."
We had a lot of similarities.
There were definitely some similar questions, but like when you interview someone like Benjamin Smith, there's lots of elephants in the room, and you need to address them all.
Yes.
So,
how was it? I've not met him in person, so how was that? Because I'm taking him out for drinks for sure.
He's a lot taller than I expected.
Oh, really?
I think you could say that about just about any tall person that exists on the internet because you can't tell. Like he's holding the camera like a little bit above his face to kind of get that downward angle, which is more flattering than the upward angle. So you have no idea exactly how tall someone is. People tell me all the time that I'm taller than they expect, and I think that maybe I just give off short guy energy in my videos.
No, you look
I don't
tall.
know.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
Yeah, I would have guessed that. Yeah,
I'm as tall as the shortest Celtics player, Peyton Pritchard. So.
All right, so I have so much I want to talk to you about. So first of all, tell me like how you got started in journalism. So you obviously didn't come out of college and you're like, I'm Reporter Matt and I'm going to do this. So talk to me about, or maybe you did. So tell me.
No, absolutely did not. I didn't even study journalism in school. This is a funny thing. I studied radio. Weirdly enough, it was like that was the medium that I was like super into growing up, which probably tells you a little bit about my age. But like I grew up in Massachusetts here listening to all the great Boston rock stations, FNX, BCN and all those. And like I wanted to do that. And so I went to Emerson College, studied it. I did high school radio, college radio. I interned while I was still in high school at FNX and all this stuff and did not end up doing rock radio like at all. I did like a little rock radio side project, but the first job that presented itself to me after college was talk radio, like political talk radio.
Oh, wow.
And like I took the gig because I was like, I don't want to move across the country for, a music genre. I was like, I'd rather be here in Boston and just doing radio. And I ended up learning a lot. Like I also made a lot of people very angry, like on the radio by like, having to get on and say my opinions. And you know how talk radio listeners are. Oh, you damn Emerson College kid and blah, blah, blah. And so, but like it was fun and again, learning experience. So my next job after that one was at a top 40 station. If anyone listening grew up in the Boston area and knows the TJ show on 103.3 amp radio, I was sort of like a third mic, third personality on the show that would go out in the street and do funny bits. So it was crazy jarring to go from that, like, let's make people angry radio to let's make people happy radio.
Yeah.
And, but it was fun. And I was there for 7 years and then the pandemic put an end to that job. And, nobody was hiring at any radio stations in Boston in the middle of a pandemic because no one was in their cars listening. And also no advertisers had money. So it was like there wasn't a lot of money in the biz, but WBZ was hiring, and it makes sense when you think about it, right? Election year, pandemic going on, people were tuning in for news, and I didn't know if I could do that. I was like, man, I never been a reporter before, but they convinced me that that was actually a good thing. They wanted to bring in somebody with fresh ideas and a fresh approach, and I was like, sweet, I can do that. Thinking outside the box, that's me. And it was intimidating at first when I got to the station, and like there's all these esteemed award-winning journalists, and I'm like this guy who literally didn't even study it in college and like having to make it up when I go along. But this is the thing that happens in journalism a lot, is like someone trains in journalism and then has to adapt to whatever medium they're working in. So like you have a journalist who has to figure out newspapers, or a journalist who has to figure out TV, or in my case, radio. But for me, it was the opposite. I knew how to do radio. I just had to figure out how to do journalism.
Yeah.
And so I kind of learned by doing and flexing my unique skill set as often as I could, which I felt like was production. I could do really interesting and also like kind of bits and like slipping a joke in there here, you know, every once in a while, and like making people laugh. And it got to the point where, yes, in the beginning I was doing a lot of general assignment type of news, but now they just kind of set me free, and they're like, go do whatever you think is best.
And how do you find the people that you're interviewing? You just
all over the place.
But are you literally walking in a mall and you see like the guy that you have pinned to your Instagram?
Yeah,
he's the first pin. I think he's from the Philippines originally, I believe.
Yep.
And like it looks like you met him in a mall.
Yep, completely by chance. So I do this series where I go to different towns and just show up and meet who I meet and see what I see, and then go share it with people. And it's always fun because it always ends up on a weird adventure, and it's not like I'm sitting down researching, oh, what happened in this town in 1742, and you know, I'm not doing a history. It's like I want to meet the regular everyday people that exist in this town, and if you show up here, this is the type of person you're going to meet. You're not going to meet the person who invented the sewing machine in this spot, you know? So I had met this family, a mother, daughter, grandmother trio, and they were like, oh, we're about to go to the mall. Do you want to come with us? I'm like, sure, why not? And so this was in Braintree, and we went to the mall, and we just popped into Aeropostale, and that guy that you're talking about, Richard, just happened to be working. So I figured, oh, why not? I'm here. I'll ask him a couple questions. And he ended up being absolutely hilarious, and he stole the show. Like that first video in Braintree, like everyone was in the comments like, oh my God, Richard, or as they were calling him, Maria Christina False Eyelashes, his drag name. Is a queen, is a star. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I want to learn more about this person. So we did a follow-up interview, and then there was another follow-up and a follow-up after that. And it all led to a whole thing where he revived his drag persona for the first time in 30 years.
Oh my God, I love that.
2 nearly sold out shows in the middle of nowhere, Maynard, Massachusetts. I say middle of nowhere with great respect for Maynard because I grew up in the town next to Maynard, so I know how it is. But yeah, no, I mean, the point is it's like not Boston where you can attract a drag crowd.
Yes.
You know, the Jacques crowd isn't coming out to Maynard. It's like you have to get, but people did. They drove out from New Hampshire, Rhode Island, like all just to see this because that first video or the follow-up video you're talking about went so viral. It was awesome.
And is that, do you love doing those videos? Is that kind of like what you're, I mean, I feel like that's, or do you want to do like more serious interviews in the future? Like super serious?
No, I'm not a serious person. I don't think I could. But I mean, I like meeting really fun, interesting people. I'm just like constantly curious about everybody I see in the world, not just in real life. Like you see someone, I don't know, maybe going through hard times in Boston, and you're always like, what is that person's story? Like, how did they go from like being a kid like we all were to like that, to being in this position? And then especially just like a funny, cheerful person. Like I love spending time around those people who are just interesting and not boring. And absolutely Benjamin Smith fits in that category.
Oh yeah.
And Richard.
Yeah.
And so I do love going out and just finding people's stories because I'm naturally a curious person when it comes to other people.
And did you find Benjamin Smith on his Instagram? Is that how you found him and reached out?
So yeah, he had first, like, the For You page put him in front of me, and I was like, this is interesting, but I didn't want to immediately like go for the interview, because then like all I knew about him was he was a realtor and had very intense makeup.
Yeah.
And so like I felt like that would be kind of like, okay, well now I'm just, if I'm interviewing you because of your makeup, I don't want it to be like I'm making fun of you, like I wanted, but more people started sending me his videos, and I started kind of being like, this person seems like he's got a bit of a sense of humor. Like, I'd like to find that out, figure it out. And so, yeah, we set up an interview. Of course, he was all for it. As you know, he loves attention.
Loves it. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go out for drinks with him, because you should come with us, actually.
I'd love that. Yeah.
Because he just had a birthday party this past Saturday, because I seen it on his Instagram.
Yep.
And he had people he told me people want to take selfies with me when I'm walking down the street. I think he would be so fun. And so I had the conversation. You had a little bit of the conversation just about the mean gays in Boston. So gay guys, I'm a gay guy, so I can say this. I don't think they're super nice in Boston. They're actually kind of standoffish. They're in their little cliques, and they're not friendly. And where I've lived in Miami and New York, you can walk into a bar in New York and like make 25 best friends in one night, and here it's not happening. So him and I
That's so weird.
And the video that I posted about that, the little clip, I don't know what viral means, but we got like 90,000 views on it, and we got like
That's 200
we got 200 comments on it, people going back and forth and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was really happy because I got the perspective from other people about what they think about it too. So
I love that. Yeah, totally. And you find out from doing this sort of thing, like that there are so many other people out there that have the same thoughts and questions as you. That's what the internet does so well in these algorithms, is it puts like-minded people together. And the fact that you and Benjamin both had that exact same experience is really interesting. And I watched that video. I liked that video that you had posted with it too, because like, I don't know, it's not something that I personally as a non-gay man have ever experienced, but like, and it made me wonder like why Boston specifically, like you both were saying it's maybe because of the Puritan nature of the town.
That's what he said. So I don't know. So every friend though that I do have here that is gay says the same thing though. They're like, the gays here. I have a friend, Greg and Garrett, who like left Boston because they're like, it's impossible to meet quality friends here. So I'm like going back to New York.
Do you think it's like a competitive thing? Like,
I
don't know, like I picture like, two straight guys in a room with like one hot girl, and it's like suddenly they become like, who's the most alpha? Is it sort of like that situation?
No, I think it's like, this is what I think. I think that I think a lot of people never left Boston, or they went away to school and came back. And so they have these same friends, or they have this network of friends, and they just, for some reason, don't want to let anybody in.
Interesting. Yeah.
So like, I have a good group of friends, but none of like, if you, like you go to a simple bar, like the Trophy Room in Boston, which is a gay bar. And like I've, 3 or 4 months ago, I went in there with a couple of friends. I'm like, hey, and there was a guy sitting at the bar. I'm like, hey, do you want to do a shot with us? And he's like, why? I'm like, I'm buying you a shot. Like, just why not? So it's
yeah, it's funny. So I had done a video a while back at D-Bar in Dorchester.
Yes. Yeah.
Another gay bar. And at first when I walked in like with my microphone, I think people were very rightfully skeptical of me. They're like, what is he doing? Like, what are his intentions in our space? And like, so I wanted to make it really clear that like, I'm a friend here. I'm not trying to like blow anyone's spot or anything. And so, eventually everyone warmed up to me, but I guess that's the closest experience I've come to like the meanness of the Boston gay community. But again, I haven't personally experienced that much.
So tell me what the best person that you have found, like who was your favorite interview that you found, the best personality?
Oh my gosh, that is a great question. So I would say Richard, Maria Christina False Eyelashes is up there for sure. Also Benjamin Smith. But there's this guy, I've brought him up before, who's just because he was so out of left field, it was one of my favorite things. In Norwood, Massachusetts, I was like struggling to find anyone who was like, would really like talk to me or give me a unique, compelling story. And I'm there for hours and hours. And just as I'm about to give up, I hear this van squeakily pull up to next to me. Like, it's like every van that your mother tells you not to approach.
Yeah, yes.
That like was just short of having free candy spray painted on the side. And like the dude sitting in there looks like Gandalf with a big white beard. And he says to me like, "What you doing? You got a microphone?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm interviewing people. Can I interview you?" He's like, "Of course." And I'm talking to him and he tells me, "Oh yeah, I'm retired. I drive around. I give people rides." I'm like, "Okay, can I get a ride?" He's like, "Yeah, of course. Come on in." I do not recommend this to anyone who's listening, who's thinking about doing what I do for a living. Yeah. Don't get in strangers' cars, especially not vans like that. But I did. And I am so glad I did because, oh my God, did that guy have stories. And he was so funny. And we just drove around. He was telling me the whole history of Norwood. Norwood is one of those towns where people never leave. Or they leave for college and come back and get married, buy a house and settle down in Norwood. That's exactly what he told me. So that's probably one of my favorite people I've ever bumped into.
And when do you kind of realize that your story that you're doing is more about the person that you're meeting and not the town?
Oh, yeah. So that's a great question because when I started doing this, it all came about because somebody had left a comment on one of my videos like, "Hey, go to Bellingham, try to find something cool." Yeah. Like it was a challenge. But I was like, hell yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So I showed up in Bellingham and was just interviewing people, quick hits on the street and trying to find something interesting. And I think the next one might have been Wellesley. And then just as I continued doing it, I more and more found that it was the people consistently that was the interesting thing in every town. So now when I go to a town, I'm not even interested necessarily in hitting up everyone's favorite restaurant or their favorite local landmark. It's like, I want to find an interesting person who can tell me a hell of a story.
And do you ever have people that are just like, "Nope, I'm not doing this. Get away from me"?
Oh yeah. The majority of people don't want to stop and talk. Yeah. And I'm not offended by that at all because if you're out and about in the world, you probably have somewhere to be, especially in Massachusetts where it's cold as hell. You're not just going out for walks in 20-degree weather for nothing. So it's always just, okay. And then on to the next person. I don't put all my eggs in one basket, put anybody on a pedestal, just, because that's just setting yourself up for disappointment. So I try to go to places where like there's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So are you kind of staying away from the smaller towns, even though it could be interesting people in some of these small towns? But
no, I actually really like doing small towns. Yes, it poses more of a challenge because there's less of like the city square type of space where you can meet a lot of people. But all small towns have like a grocery store or like a Dunkin' Donuts or a CVS where there's constantly people walking in and out. Yeah. So it's just like you can go to those places. And obviously you're not going to be like, "Hey, this town is super cool. It's got a Dunkin'," but it's like, but you might meet somebody who can tell you something really interesting. And so that's where I usually like to go. The other fun thing about small towns is just the challenge of it all. And like the fact that, people think there's nothing interesting about this town, but then you go there and you show up and people are like, "Oh man, well, you see that mark in the rock over there? That's actually the devil's footprint from," and like that literally happened in Norton when I was just there a couple of weeks ago.
What's the most honest thing that somebody's kind of told you whenever you were interviewing them that you were shocked about?
Oh, meaning shocked about how much they opened up to me and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. This isn't like a funny answer, but like it's an honest answer. It's there was a time where I was in downtown Crossing and I wasn't even planning on like filming or recording that night. My car there was actually a protest happening downtown and my car was stuck, so I couldn't leave. So I was just like, all right, I'll just go walk around and see what I could capture. And I bumped into this woman who was singing and she had an amazing voice. I stopped to talk about it and she opened up to me. She was probably like way more honest than I ever expected. Yeah. She'd been homeless. She'd gone through a messy divorce, ended up in the streets. And she had this like lifelong dream to get into a recording studio and record this original song that she had written. And it led to this whole thing where I used my connections around town to actually get her into a studio paired up with a producer who for free, shout out to DJ Gasoline Monk, he produced her whole original song for her, and we put it up on Bandcamp, which is, I don't know if you know, it's a website where you can pay whatever you want for the song. And in like 2 months she made like 10 grand from the song.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
that must make you feel so good.
Oh, it feels amazing, because it's not like I'm trying to be one of those kindness influencers who like films himself walking up and handing out money to homeless people. It was like she earned that money herself by just like having an amazing song and being so talented and having a great voice. It's just, I just happen to be the one to get her in touch with the right people. And, you know, it worked out great. So that was definitely the most rewarding story, and certainly the most honest anyone's ever been to me. She told me her whole story.
I love that. I mean, you changed this person's life, you know, and gave her probably so much confidence also.
For sure. A lot came out of that too. I mean, she was featured on CBS Evening News because of it, like nationally. America's Got Talent reached out to have her on the show, like all this stuff. And now she just recently got into her own stable housing. I won't say what town or anything, but yeah, she finally got approved to get housing. So she's off the streets, which is great.
Do you get a lot of those stories where you're kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like the shifting from like a kind of a lighthearted, you know, video where you're just talking to this woman on the street, and then it gets more personal and deep and maybe a little sad even, but then it's like you have this entire story that you've told about. I mean, she's got a house now. She got 10,000. I mean, that's amazing. Like, do you get a lot of those type of things where the story shifts?
Yeah, I mean, very rarely that dramatic, but for sure. And I mean, I would say that happened with Richard in Braintree as well, because here's just a funny guy who I wanted to interview because he's funny. And next thing you know, he's telling me about how, because his father doesn't approve of him being gay or doing drag, he had to give that whole life up and move to the States and work 3 jobs to put his kids through school. And like, he's never had a night out because no one's invited him out. He's always working too hard. And like that right there, leaving it at that would have made a really sad story. But I was like, let's take him out for a night out. So we took him to Jacques. And again, that's where he met drag queen Izzy Reddy, who and also Bray the Fallen, who invited him to go perform with them. And he did. And I would like to think that maybe changed his life too.
Do you ever go and kind of meet somebody on the street and you start talking to them, and it just like you realize in the first couple of minutes, like, this person isn't going to work, and you can't get away from them because they're like into it? I feel like people are really into being in front of the camera.
They're talking a lot. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty good at letting people being like, okay, well, hey, great. Thanks. It was so nice meeting you. This was great. And moving on. I don't think people necessarily expect that they're going to spend the day with me. Although I did just the other day in Norton I was on the side of the road filming myself, getting a quick shot. A car pulls up and they're like, hey, you're the guy from TikTok. We know you. You want to get in the car? We'll give you a ride and stuff. And as we're driving, they kind of said to me like, do we have to be like really funny to make the final cut? And I was like, I mean, not necessarily funny, but like, I don't know.
Right.
Interesting. Exactly. But no, I went to their warehouse and their place of work that they wanted to show me, and it was cool and it was nice, and I might be able to find a way to put it into the final piece. But if not, they understand, and I think most people understand.
Does anything ever scare you though when you're out kind of doing these interviews? I mean, besides getting into a scary white van that you know, right, that could have been the end of your reporter Matt career in your life.
I think the most scared I've ever been was, have you ever heard of Busta Rhymes Island?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh man, I am so, you're like, Busta Rhymes? Yeah, of course. No, Busta Rhymes Island. Oh, I'm so excited that I get to be the one to tell you about Busta Rhymes Island.
I've never heard of
it. Okay. So Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, right next to Worcester.
Yeah.
There's a pond there. And a little random island in the middle of that pond. And you know, I don't know if you grew up in a small town or something, but you know how when there's like little places like that kind of in the woods, that's sort of where like teens gather and like do whatever teens do. So there was a group of friends that used to hang out there on that little island in the middle of a pond. And they went there so many times and geotagged it as Busta Rhymes Island just for fun, as like a little joke, that now it shows up on Google Maps. And if you Google Busta Rhymes Island, you can like navigate there. It will take you there. And so it's like not an official name for the island. They've been trying to make that happen. There's one guy in particular who's been like spearheading the whole movement. But so when I was doing a video about Shrewsbury, I was like, I got to stop by Busta Rhymes Island. Yeah. It happened to be the middle of winter. I didn't have a boat, but the pond was like frozen. I couldn't tell if it was frozen enough, but and I had all my gear with me, so I was at least like 20 pounds heavier. Yeah. So I was like, but I had to get out there. So I was like standing on the side of this like pond for a while trying to think, like muster up the courage to walk across the ice and get to Busta Rhymes Island. And eventually I did, and it was terrifying. Like the whole time I'm walking across, I'm hearing the creaks like and the ice is like moving underneath my feet. I thought like at best I would end up like Rudolph on that one piece of ice floating across the ocean. But miraculously I made it across the ice and got the video. Busta Rhymes Island was there were remnants of many good times had by the youth of Shrewsbury, for sure.
Yeah, there was a place like that where I grew up that I don't even know, it was called the Steel Bridge. I don't even know if it's there still. It probably rusted away.
Can I ask where you grew up?
I grew up in Florida, so I grew up in Miami, but a little south of Miami. And nice. You know, if you drive really far kind of west, you almost get into the Everglades if you leave Miami. Okay. And so there was this area, and it was called the Steel Bridge, and all the high school kids would go out there, and we would drink and you know, do whatever. And like, you know, there was no lights out there at all. It was close to like this little small municipal airport, but nobody was ever out there. Cops weren't going out there. So, you know, you could be 17 and drinking and nobody would know. So,
yes, those are the best spots. And as a matter of fact, when I was doing my video in Needham, Massachusetts, I bumped into these two like high school seniors who were like out on their lunch break, and they didn't really have much to give me. Just like you were asking, do people ever not give you anything? I was like, okay, well, yep, see you later. But then like an hour later, they found me downtown in another part of Needham. They're like, we've been looking all over for you. We thought of a place to take you. Oh. And so they took me to their little spot in the woods, which was an old abandoned train bridge, like 20 feet above the water. And we walked out on it. And that was also pretty scary. Yeah. Right. Like I'm not thinking a train's going to come by, but
is it going to fall down?
It didn't look like the most sturdy bridge for sure. In fact, clearly the algorithm had the same thought, because that video ended up getting blocked on TikTok for like dangerous activity or something. We didn't jump off the bridge or anything, but they told lots of stories. Yeah. They were like, oh, this is where Joey Souza did the first backflip off this bridge in 2014 or whatever. It was so funny.
It's funny that you said that they tagged that Busta Rhymes Island, because you may have heard of this place in Provincetown. There's a dock underneath where the boat slip is, and at nighttime it's called the Dick Dock. And
it's a hookup spot.
It's a hookup spot. So all the guys, you know, that are single, or I guess not single, they go underneath there to hook up with people after dark. So I went in and I called it the Dick Dock Cafe or something. I don't know. And I made a review saying, you know, something funny. Best piece of meat I ever had there. You got to stop by and try it. And then other people started commenting like, oh yeah, I had the Jamaican beef last night. It was delicious. So,
this is all on Google reviews.
It was all on Google reviews.
I don't know
if it's still there, but it was so funny. It was there for a couple of years if it's not there anymore. So
I'm 100% going to look that up. And that's totally the kind of thing that like everyone in the community will get behind. And as long as Google doesn't figure it out, then people can continue to have their fun.
What was the moment though that you kind of realized that you're really good at your job and like people love you?
Oh my God. Thank you for saying that. I don't know if I really ever had the moment where I thought I've definitely had moments where I realize people love me, but I haven't had moments where I feel like I'm really good at my job.
Really?
Maybe once. Yeah. I don't know. I definitely have this imposter syndrome thing happening where like,
yeah, I do too. I know what you mean.
Because the thing is, you put so much time and effort into what you're putting out there for the world. People don't see the behind the scenes and all the hard work that had to go into it, and they only see the finished product, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. But like, I don't know. I feel like with all the effort I'm putting in, it's like, this doesn't necessarily come. Some videos come more naturally to me than others.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard. Yes, I guess maybe once in a while I'll put up a video and I'm like, okay, this one is a good one. And I'll like, I'll feel really good about it and I'll like watching it. But I don't know, in terms of like people liking what I do, it's just cool to be around town and have people come up to you and say like, oh man, I love your stuff. People ask for pictures.
Yeah. So how does it feel? You're famous in Boston. Like people know who you are. Like, do people come up want to do selfies and can you go?
For sure.
Can you go to Downtown Crossing now without being recognized?
I mean, I definitely get recognized most times I'm out there, but like if I have the microphone, it for sure happens most often.
Yeah.
The microphone is the thing that if I don't like, people are used to seeing me with the headphones on when they come off. Also, I just got a haircut recently, so people aren't used to seeing me with a forehead. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. There are times where, people are like, is that the guy? I don't know. And they keep moving on. But no, I love it because it's not like interruptive of my life where I can't like go out and exist in the world without getting hassled. It's like every once in a while someone's like, oh, hey, you're the guy, or oh, you're Matt, and people want to take pictures. It's I had this conversation actually recently with my daughter because I guess we'll open that can of worms right now. I have two kids, 6 and 3. I love them very much. And my 6-year-old asked me one time recently, like, Daddy, like, why did that person want to take a picture with you or whatever? And I was like, oh, well, you know how you watch like Ryan's World videos on YouTube and stuff? Yeah. Like there are people who watch my videos that I make. And she's like, oh, I said, I'm not as famous as Ryan though. And she goes, yeah, I know that. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, our house isn't as big as his. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Okay, I never would have guessed that you had 2 kids. I thought you were like in your early 20s.
Thank you. Wow, that's awesome. I appreciate that. No, I'm in my 30s.
Okay,
and,
never would have guessed that ever. I really thought like this guy's like 24-ish is what I would have thought. So
people either think that for sure. Like I get that they often, especially in the early days of doing this account, they thought I was just like some intern who got let loose on the social media accounts of WBZ News Radio and could post whatever I wanted. Nah, man, I had to work my way up here.
That is amazing.
Thanks.
So tell me, what have you tried once that you would want to try again?
Ooh, just like in terms of work or just in life?
Or no, life even. Life or work, either one.
That's cool. I feel like I've had so many cool experiences through this job. Like, I got to go up in a blimp. And I did a story from a blimp, and that is such a rare thing because think about it.
There's not that many blimps left in the world.
No, and they're not making new blimps.
Yeah.
Like I think at the time I talked to the guy, they said there were only like 8 left or something like that, which is crazy. And so I got to go up in one of those, and also a big part of the reason why they're not like, first of all, they're extremely slow. Yeah. Second of all, helium is a finite resource, so it's really expensive. Once you fill a blimp, this is something I learned, you have to keep it inflated for like the duration of whatever ad campaign it's doing. So like, for example, when the Dick's Sporting Goods blimp was flying over Boston a couple years ago, that's the one I was in. That's the one I did the story on. The whole time it was here, and every city in America that they hit, they couldn't deflate it, and they had to have people like on the ground next to it 24/7 to make sure it didn't blow away. So, just like crazy. But that experience of being in a blimp was so cool. You know how like with an airplane, it has to build up a ton of speed, and on the runway it's like shaking. You don't know if you're about to die, and then finally it takes off and it's smooth, and you're like, phew. You don't get that at all with a blimp. Literally, it's just like a bunch of people on the ground holding it down with a rope, and then all of a sudden they let go, and you're up. It's
and
just
you don't want to do
smooth.
it again.
I would love to do it again. It was so cool. Like they're smart about it. They don't go up in blimps when the weather is like remotely bad, know. So that was cool.
What's something that most people don't know about you? Like the kids thing blew me away, but what's something else that's even more crazy?
Thank you. Even more crazy. I have never had a sip of alcohol in my life.
Seriously?
Yeah. Seriously.
Why is that?
Bunch of reasons. First of all, like alcoholism in the family is definitely a thing that turned me off of it from a young age. And then when I was in college, I kind of grew up around like punk rock and skateboarding. And I don't know if you know the whole like straight edge hardcore scene, but I got really into that. Like there's a whole subgenre within hardcore punk of people who don't drink or do drugs.
Okay.
And like they sing, it's all about just like having a clear mind and like, you know, being free of like the control that an addiction might have over you and stuff.
So no edibles or anything either?
No edibles either. No. Yeah.
Okay. Good for
Nothing.
you.
And thanks. I still like some like straight edge hardcore, like going to shows and stuff, but I no longer feel like I'm a super active member of the scene. It's more just now that like, well, I'm in my 30s. I've gone this long. Like, why would I start? You know, I'm saving money. You know,
you save so much money over your lifetime.
Yeah. And I'm seeing so many friends now too, like quit. Like when I was, you know, in college, tons of friends were, why? Like, why don't you want to drink? Why don't you want to do this? And it's like, because I can still have fun without it. Like that used to bother me a little bit in college when people would act like you couldn't have fun without alcohol being involved. I'd be like, yes, you can. Like, try it. But I didn't ever have a problem being around people who were indulging or drinking. In fact, more often than not, I had more fun when people were drunk. But I think it's like an insecurity where people are like, oh man, I'm going to make a fool of myself with all these drinks. And this completely sober person is in the room. Like maybe that kills their vibe, right? They're like, he's going to be judging me, but I'm not at all. I'm just like there to have fun like you are.
I respect that so much. And there's the younger generation today, which I thought you were part of, a lot of them are not drinking
right
now.
And yes, and you mentioned, and that reminds me, I was getting to the part about how I, now that I'm in my 30s, it's like more and more people are quitting. More and more of my friends who've been drinking, you know, so many people are like, I could never do that again. I'm not drinking. You know, it's like, all right, cool. Welcome. Come hang out with me. This is cool. I'll show you what it means to not drink and still have fun.
There's a bar in New York that's all mocktails, no alcohol at all.
And I think it may be owned by one of my Emerson classmates. I know she opened up a bar that does the same thing in New York. It might be the same one. Cool.
Maybe, but this guy could have partners. It's a guy from a show called Summer House on Bravo.
Gotcha.
And he could just be the face of it or something.
It could be a different one. Could be a different one. Who knows?
What's the most difficult thing you've ever done?
Oh man.
That's my last kind of weird question I'm asking, by the way, because I know those are all.
No, I like these weird questions. Become a dad, I guess. I don't know. That's for sure not an easy task, not for the faint of heart, but it's a rewarding one for sure.
Do you want more kids?
No, I'm good at 2.
Okay.
I've always wanted 2. 2 is the number for me. And my wife was like, I want 3. And I'm like, okay, we'll see about that. And once we have 2, and sure enough, we have our 2. And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Like, like that's a lot. Like we can team up, you know, it's like, all right, you take this kid, I'll take that kid. If there were 3, it'd be like, who's taking the other kid? You know, I don't know. Did you have siblings?
I had a brother who was 6 years younger. Yeah, so
that's a big age gap.
It's a big age gap. He was a mistake, and I told him that many times growing up, that he was a total mistake. And so we're so different. We're still so different. Right. But he had an addiction, alcohol problem for a while, a long time, a couple of decades, and then he went to rehab without my parents paying for it. Like he decided to go on his own, and now has a great life, and he hasn't drank anything for like 13 years now almost. So.
Amazing. That's good.
So,
but isn't it funny how like 2 kids from the same parents and the same household or whatever can be so different?
We are so different. We are night and day different.
It's like my 2 kids don't even look alike. Like it's
we don't look alike either.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it's just like same upbringing, same parents, same house, same town, whatever.
Does one look like you and one look like your wife?
Yeah. Yeah. One definitely looks like me. The other looks more like my wife for sure. Yeah. We have different eye colors, but the one who doesn't look as much like me has my personality to a T.
Really?
Like, oh yeah.
Is that the boy or the girl?
They're both girls. And
they're both girls. Okay.
Yeah. And, but we have a lot of the same interests, and like I don't know, just like watching old videos of myself as a kid recently again, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is Marin, you know, my oldest.
Yeah.
I was like, that is Marin to a T. So it's funny.
Do you, I know you know the show, of course, Billy on the Street. Did you ever like think about, so he's got a completely, obviously different style than you because he's
fast-paced, intense,
and can be a little mean sometimes to the people he's talking to. But,
in a funny way.
Yeah, in a funny way. I mean, I think he's great.
I love his show. Yeah.
I love his show too. And I actually, every time I go to Provincetown, he's always there.
What?
Yeah. He's
oh my God. I want to go meet him.
And I want him on my podcast, and I came close to getting him. I'm still not giving up, but yeah, I'm gonna. He's a possibility.
You have to ask him to name a woman.
Yeah,
you have, ask him all his famous rapid fire questions.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. Next time you see him in P-Town, message me, and I'll be on the next ferry.
Okay,
I will.
I'll
gotta
totally
go find him. Not to interview him, just to be like, "Hey, man, you're hilarious. Keep it up. Name a woman."
He always looks like he's mad every time I see him.
I think he probably just has a little bit of RBF going on, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I think it is too. I want to mention that I'm really disappointed in something because you have a show at the Wilbur that's completely sold out.
Yeah, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm disappointed because I went to get tickets and it's like, nope, sold out. So
oh, man.
You're going to have to do a second show.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking not a second show of like the same lineup and everything, but like I'm thinking about maybe making this a semi-regular thing where like I have a different lineup of guests like in the future. And it would be really fun. Yeah, I did not expect this show to sell out either. Like I've said this before, so I apologize if I'm sounding redundant, but like they came to me, the Wilbur Theater, and were like, have you thought about doing a show? I'm like, hell no. And certainly not at the Wilbur Theater because I don't think I can sell the place. I was like, I asked them what the minimum number of tickets I needed to sell for it to not look pathetic was.
Yeah.
And they were like 500, half the place. And I was like, fine, I'll give myself 5 months or whatever to like sell 500 tickets and then I'll be happy. But within 2 weeks, we sold 1,000.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. You should do it regular. I'm telling you. There's one thing I want to ask. You is that do you ever take a moment to reflect back on all of the joy and happiness that you give people with the stories that you're telling, the content you're giving? You know, I look forward to your new posts, and a lot of people do. You have 115,000 just on Instagram. That is not even talking about TikTok. And like do you ever reflect on like how positive you are making a world that's not so positive right now and how happy you make people? Do you ever think about this?
Thank you for saying that. No, I mean, I don't know. There are times thank you. No, I guess I should do it more. I get kind of the opposite actually. Sometimes where I sit and I read the news and I'm like, oh my God, like this is horrible. Like I wish there was more I could do about this.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just making these funny videos, but then I do kind of eventually come around to this thought where it's like, well, yes, like this marginalized community is under attack and I'm making videos about them showing the humanity of it and like the different side of it. And like, you know, that's good. And I guess that's kind of my own little way of fighting back. You know, like,
I mean, you make people happy and I want you to know that. And I really hope that you do sometimes pause for a few minutes and just think about that. Do that tonight. Like pause before you go to sleep. And just think about like, I do good shit in this world. Like, think about it.
Thank you. Thanks, Zach. I'm thinking about it right now. This is cool. I like
good.
It. Thanks,
and have you thought about, like, what's the future? Have you thought about doing a podcast? Have you thought about, you know, like, what do you want to do in the future?
That's a good question. I mean, if I were to do a podcast, I would want to think about like what could I bring to the table, right? Because like there's a lot of great podcasts out there. I would want to figure out what I could do that's different. But I've actually thought about taking some of like the full interviews that I've done because when I make these videos, I got to cut them down to like 3 minutes for the algorithms. So like, and that's 3 minutes is still a long video on social media. But like, you know, when I'm in a town for 10 hours and then I got to make it 3 minutes long, it's like, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get shared. And so what if I just made the podcast me posting the full uncut interviews? So I've definitely thought about that.
Yeah. I think you, the gift of gab is what they call it, is so you have it, and you could come on, and I think you can make anybody interesting. So I
Thank
think
you.
you should really think about the podcast thing. It is a lot of work. It's not probably as much work as that you're doing for your show, and I had to hire an editor because I just couldn't keep up with the bookings and all that. But
I feel you. Yeah, no, definitely.
But it pays off. I mean, I feel I'm reaching a good amount of people now, and I feel
that's great.
Very lucky that I reached this many people after only 2 years, because I was told that some people do podcasts for 3 years and they reach 300 people, every episode. So I'm very happy where I'm at. So
that's awesome. No, and you do a great job. And I mean, you're a real conversationalist here. I can tell. I've done other podcasts, and I can tell that you are actually like listening to what I'm saying and engaging in a conversation. I know that sounds like such a basic thing, but I think there's a lot of people out there who think they can do a podcast, but don't understand what a talent it takes to actually make it engaging and interesting and keep your guests engaged. Like some people go in with their list of questions and like they live and die by it. Like they're just waiting for the guest to stop talking so they can ask their next question. Whereas you're actually listening to what I'm saying and like following up and engaging in a conversation. And like, that's a skill that a lot of people don't have.
It's funny. When I lived in New York, I had a very large group of friends, and there was a bar that was called Phoenix, and it was down in the East Village or Lower East Side. And there's the main bar area, and then there was this kind of like side room where people could there was like benches and stuff, so people could sit if they wanted to and stand. So I'd have my friends all sit down on this. We'd get drinks, and they'd all be sitting there, and we'd put 2 chairs kind of in the front of the room. And I would go out and find 2 people I didn't even know, and I would take them, and I'm like, "Can you come with me for a second?" They're like, "Sure." And I would bring the people back. And they're like, "What are we doing?" And they would come and sit in the chair, about 2 people who didn't know each other. And I'd say, "You're welcome to my talk show." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're on my talk show. This is like Oprah Winfrey." And I would ask them random questions, and 9 out of 10 times it worked, and it was hysterical. Once in a while, there was some guys like who wasn't into it, but we would get people to do silly acts and like, "What would you do if you were a porn star? Can you show us on your new friend?" And I'd also try to be a matchmaker and try to matchmake people together.
Right. Oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I love this.
And I wish there was phones that had cameras back then, so we could have gotten video of this, but it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, so no luck.
It's lost to history, as so many great moments were. Yeah. Oh man, I love that though. I mean, that right there alone is such a great concept for like a podcast. Just the idea of walking people into a room who have no idea what they're about to walk into. There's some ethical consideration, I would imagine, for like filming people without their consent. But if you walk them into the room and you say, "Hey, you're on my talk show, sit down," give them the freedom to walk out if they don't want to do it, or let them sit and stay and be on the show. Like, I like that. That's that's cool. And then have a bunch of bits planned. And
exactly. So I wish that I had a camera back then, because I would totally put that out there today. So, but there was no cell phone. I think the way that you used to text on cell phones was like, 2 is ABC, and you had to like text like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. It's amazing we didn't all develop carpal tunnel from like hitting those buttons the same time or the same way over and over.
My last question for you is, do you want to interview, celebrities one day? Do you want to interview famous people? Is that something that you would be up for?
Maybe. I mean, I've had some famous people on before for sure, but it's not something like I seek out, For example, I did a couple things actually with Rob Gronkowski, the football player, because like, he's local. He does a lot of great stuff around town. And he also happens to be extremely down to earth and like super cool. Awesome. A lot of times when you talk to like celebrities, especially famous athletes, they're talking through like a PR filter and like, they know there's a camera and a microphone and they're being really careful with their words and stuff. It's like, Rob is just like so natural in himself and funny. And like, so he's a great interview, but like, I don't know if the right person comes along. The other thing is like a lot of times when like celebrities or famous people reach out to me, they have some sort of agenda. You know, like, the dude from Bar Rescue hit me up. Yeah, what's his name? John Taffer?
Yeah.
You know that guy?
He wanted you to... tell me.
No, he wanted me to interview him because he wanted to promote some new like bourbon sauce he was trying to sell. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not just going to sit down in a room with you and talk about bourbon sauce. That sounds horribly boring.
Yes.
But here's an idea for a bit that I have. I did a story not long ago with a woman who built a bar in her closet in Somerville. And like, it's got like the taps on the wall and like a dartboard. And like, it looks straight up like a dive bar, but it's in her walk-in closet. It was genius. And so I was like, how about we surprise her by bringing you, the bar rescue guy, to her bar and like do your whole thing with her. Like that would be so funny. And then sure, we can throw in a plug for your hot sauce, whatever. They were not into it. They didn't want to do it. They literally just wanted him to be in a room with me talking about his bourbon sauce. That's it. I'm like, you are missing. Yeah. And like, maybe it wasn't him, John Taffer, who was like the final decision maker in this. Maybe it was like his PR management team or whatever. But like, that's the kind of thing you get with celebrities is they try to like be really controlling of the type of content that you're getting. And it's like, sometimes you got to trust the people telling the story. I mean,
I agree. That's so disappointing. I do have another question. You must get the craziest DMs. What's the craziest DM that you got? Because I know you must get insane DMs.
For sure. Let's see. I've had one that said like, hey, we're a bisexual couple. We just think you're really great. Do you want to go out sometime? And the way she worded it was kissing or no kissing. And I was like, all right, well, I'm married and monogamous, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've definitely gotten those like, are you single? I get a lot of pitches like, hey, come do a story about me. I think I'm really interesting. But
it doesn't work that way, right? I mean, you can't, do you let people pitch themselves or do you just kind of find them? I feel like you find them.
No, I find them most of the time. And occasionally people will be like, hey, this guy is really interesting. You should go talk to him. And I'll try and like, turns out, they're really great. But when people come to me and say, hey, I'm really interesting, then I'm a little skeptical. It's like, I don't know.
People think they're more interesting than they really are.
Yeah, definitely. I also have noticed a funny trend too, like the pickup DMs are funny when it's women, like it'll straight up just be like, hey, are you single? Like, just checking. Are you straight up? When it comes from guys, it'll just be like, hi. They won't follow me. They'll just send like a hi. And if I respond back like, hey, then like it'll start to be like, what's going on? What's your deal? Like, I don't know. They're like trying to test the waters a little bit. Is he on our team? I don't know.
Well, I have to say though, I love it that you're married to a woman and you have daughters and you support the LGBTQ plus community. Like you're supporting like Benjamin, you're supporting Richard, was that his name?
Yep, Richard.
Richard. I mean, you like are so open and it's like we need more people like you in the world. Like it's amazing that you do that. So thank you from me and the LGBTQ plus community for being so supportive and being a great ally.
That means a lot. Thank you for saying that. And thank you to the LGBT community too for like trusting me to tell your stories. I mean, I feel like that's a big thing too. And I can understand why some might not have a lot of faith in particularly, a person from the media. But I'm not trying to like, when I set out to tell a story, I feel like the way I see it, I'm not trying to like have this be the representation of the community and the culture rather than telling a single person's story.
People get that. I think I really do.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, definitely. I appreciate that. It's funny. I was looking at my lineup for that Wilbur Theater show and I'm like, I think 4 out of the 6 guests that I have like on that stage are like gay. And it's like, that was not intentional. It's just like, and by the way, like the fact that they're gay is not what makes them interesting. It's just like, they're interesting for so many reasons. It just so happens that these really funny, interesting people are from that community. And I love that. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to, StubHub or however you get tickets or whatever to try to get them. Cause I think I can get them. Cause I have to see you like but if I don't get a
Thank-
ticket, please do more shows, just because I
No,
think
yeah.
it's amazing that you're doing this. And I think
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you. So you're a fantastic guest. You're better than I even thought you would be, and I knew you would be good. So thank you so much for being on. I will,
Oh, you're awesome.
for people who don't know you, because this is listened to globally, the show, I will put Reporter Matt's Instagram and TikTok and all that into the description of this podcast or video, however you're listening it, and follow him, because he is got some amazing content. So if I get oversaturated with good content, but you're one of my go-tos. So thank you so much for giving us all the entertainment.
You're the best, Zach. And I meant what I said about podcasts earlier. I do a lot of these, and you are fantastic. You're a great host, so relaxed. I really enjoyed this, and I'm so glad that I got a chance to be on it myself. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to leave a comment, and don't forget to follow Reporter Matt, and check back later this week for a new episode. Thanks everybody for listening.